Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2021 Porsche 911 GT3. Now this is part of the 992 generation of the 911, which began production in 2019. This version was introduced in 2021, and yeah, it's got such additions as front suspension that is influenced by the 991 RSR, which was a racing car version of the 911 in the previous generation. It's got a 7-speed PDK gearbox, which means Porsche double clutch gearbox. And it's got a rear wing with swan neck pylons that has better downforce than the prior GT3 models, and it has an updated engine to make this the second most powerful GT3 ever made. So yeah, really impressive car, to be honest, in a lot of ways. Now it does on the whole feel like Porsche, fettling their design. It's got a little bit more downforce, a little bit more power. It just feels like the fine-tuning a base of the 911 that they've been doing for a long time now. Because yeah, this does have a lot of similarities to the previous GT3s in the previous generation. Looks kind of similar. It's got the similar kind of weight, although this is a little bit heavier. But that's probably purely down to the wing and some other extras that are more modern conveniences, but on the whole it is pretty much the same. But yeah, still a really rather nice interior as per usual with Porsche. Looks all well sorted. Unfortunately we cannot look at the engine because Porsche for some reason want to stop people enjoying all of their car, but you got a frunk which has a decent amount of space to it. And yeah, like I said, the engine has been updated. So that means that you've got a 4-litre flat 6 as before, but it now produces 503 horsepower and 346 pounds-feet of torque. So that's 10 horsepower more than the standard GT3 in the previous generation. Granted, it's 11 horsepower down on the RS model, but that's not that much, to be honest. And like I said, second most powerful GT3 ever made. And yeah, with that PDK gearbox, it is actually faster in terms of acceleration than the RS version in the prior generation. And yeah, really looking forward to seeing what they do with the RS version for this generation, given they usually are a little bit more powerful. But yeah, overall, do like the look of it. It does look well sorted, like a lot of modern Porsches generally do. I do like the look of the rear wing, although if you don't want something quite as exuberant as that, you can get the touring version, which has a deployable rear wing. Doesn't offer as much downforce, but is a bit more discreet than this version. But I prefer this version, to be honest, especially given it does produce more downforce and therefore makes this a better driver's car. But nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, even though this is a little bit heavier than the previous GT3 at 3,164 pounds, you really don't feel that weight, especially when it comes to the handling, because it's got that rear wing that offers more downforce. It's also got rear wheel steering as well. So yeah, but obviously this is a car that still has more than 500 horsepower, so it's plenty quick enough in a straight line. So let's see how quick by going on this drag strip and see what it does before it hits the speed camera. And then we'll go around the track after that. So yeah, like previous GT3s with this 4-litre flat 6, you're revving up to 9,000 RPM, and it's naturally aspirated, which is good to see. As you can see, 147 miles an hour there, which is pretty good for a car that has nowhere near the kind of power as some supercars out there, but this generally seems to be using its power pretty well, especially with that double clutch gearbox, which as you can see is lightning fast in terms of its gears. Really doesn't seem to come off power whatsoever. Yeah, it doesn't have the most torque going, but then again it doesn't exactly weigh much either, so it doesn't really need all of that torque that like a turbocharged version would offer, maybe from the likes of the GT2. But I've always preferred the GT3 over the GT2 purely because it just feels a bit purer with its naturally aspirated engine, and it just feels more like a classic racing Porsche, to be honest. So yeah, mid S1 class, and yeah, the stats are pretty damn great. Speed, handling, acceleration and braking are all perfect, or as perfect as can be for a car like this. And yeah, the launch isn't that great, but that's purely because it's a rear wheel drive car with more than 500 horsepower. But if you do get it off the line properly in a good manner, then you've got plenty of great launch going for you. And yeah, if you compare it to the likes of the other GT3s, then you've got the the older RS, which has less power than we do and less torque. As you can see, weighs 33 pounds less. But see, look at the acceleration. Better on the acceleration, better on the handling, better on the braking. It's just the launch really that is a little bit worse. Then you compare it to the GT3 RS that has slightly more power. As you can see, handling is the same, braking is the same, acceleration is a bit better purely because of that gearbox, and the top speed is a little bit better as well. And yeah, and obviously we've had plenty of other GT3s in this game. We've had the RS 4 litre, which again has the same power as the as this version, but this is generally the lightest of the bunch outside of the 04 version, which I think has, where is it, has even less than that. So I had the 2004 version, or maybe not, but yeah, still it's still a very light car, this GT3. And yeah, you compare it to the GT2 RS, which, yeah, that's the one with the turbochargers, and that's the one that prioritises the power and the torque more than anything else. But as you can see, that also weighs less than we do. So yeah, we're still a little bit on the heavy side, but like I said, it doesn't feel that weight when it comes to the handling and the braking, because the handling is just so good and the brakes are so great as well that you don't feel that bit of extra weight going for it. And with that downforce that is being produced by that rear wing, yeah, when you're at speed, you really are darting in and out of corners. So yeah, I'll let you listen to the engine first for a little bit, and then we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, pretty good sounding engine, although not my favourite sounding engine from a GT3. I think previous ones have sounded a little bit rawer and a little bit, you know, less tamed, whereas this sounds a little bit micromanaged in some regards. I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but that's the way it sounds to me. But on the whole, still a good engine, and yeah, nice and naturally aspirated, and yeah, it uses all of those revs, good fine style. And then you've got the handling, which is just absolutely glorious. Got a bit of understeer at some lower speeds, but on the whole, yeah, it just sticks to the road like glue, really. And yeah, it's just generally rather fun to drive. And acceleration wise is pretty great, especially with the gearbox that this has going on for it. 0 to 60 in 3.283 seconds, and 0 to 100 in 7.101 seconds. And despite that rather large rear wing, it goes on to a top speed of 203 miles an hour, which is, yeah, that is pretty damn good for a car with this kind of rear wing and only around 500 horsepower. But yeah, just shows how well it uses its power, really. And yeah, to top it with the handling and the looks, it's just, yeah, a really rather great all-rounder, to be honest. Like I said, the only real downside is the engine noise isn't quite as raw as previous GT3 versions, but that's a minor complaint, quite frankly, when you consider how fun it is to drive, how satisfying it is to drive as well, because you genuinely feel like you were getting a lot out of it when you were hooning it around corners. So yeah, fantastic car, really. Now you can get this in the festival playlist. 20 points is all you need to get this, so you can easily get that in no time at all. Just do the trial and a couple of seasonal championships, or a couple of less minor things with a few less points, and yeah, you'll get there in no time at all. And it is well worth getting, especially if you're into these kind of cars, because yeah, this is, I think, the newest Porsche that we have on this game. Maybe the Taycan is about the same age, but yeah, still a cracking car, and it still shows that Porsche can do a road/track car that balances both rather nicely, but is still a satisfying car to drive on either road or track. So yeah, well worth getting. Get out there and get it, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.